makan. RM1 tengah tak ada ada. RM1 ada.
Call for more Borneo seats in Dewan Rakyat. Survivors dine on Midin and Indonesia's volcano erupted. Those are the headlines for tonight. I'm Hari Zainuddin and this is TVS Nightline. The call for more seats in Dewan Rakyat by Sarawak and Sabah Member of Parliament is a pursuit to restore power balance in the August House. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Parliament and Law, Datuk Sri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar said there is a disproportionate number of seats allocated to the two states after Singapore left the Federation of Malaysia in 1965. He said when Malaysia Agreement 1963 was first signed in 1963, seat allocations were distributed in such a way that Singapore was allocated 15 seats, Sabah 16 seats, and Sarawak 24 seats. The figure represents 35% of the total parliamentary seats at the time.
So when Singapore came out in 1965, the 15 seat in Singapore was not being distributed to Sarawak, but it fully distributed to the peninsula. That caused the reduction substantially, the number of seats held between Sarawak and Sabah as a result of Singapore leaving Malaysia in 1965, which we think that it ought to have been distributed to Sarawak and Sabah in order to maintain the proportion of the Sarawak and Sabah to continue more than one-third of the seat of Parliament Dewan Rakyat in Malaysia.
Due to this, Wan Junaidi said Sarawak and Sabah are now reviewing the allocation of seats and demand that the seats be restituted.
If you look at the present situation, the study to review the allocation of seat for Dewan Rakyat was last done in Malaysia. In 2000, in Sarawak, 2005 was done, and then there's another one in 2015. And during the 2015 study, there was no increase in the number of parliament seats given to Sarawak. Under Article 113, the review must be made not less than 8 years interval.
He disclosed the demand for seats review for Sarawak would be carried out earliest by 2023. However, he noted that the process has to go through several processes.
But it has got to be done by stages. That means Sarawak have to be done first on the 23, provided it must go through the process also.
On Monday, federal lawmakers from Sabah and Sarawak called in unison for an increase in the number of parliamentary seats of both Bornean states in Parliament. Most of the East Malaysian MPs who took part in the debate on the royal address were of the opinion that the restitution of parliamentary seats should be implemented to bring about a balance in the composition of the distribution of seats for the two states. Now, as Sarawak aims to be a developed state by 2030, one of its moral pillars is the high level of integrity, especially among Sarawak civil servants. To this date, the State Integrity and Ombudsman Unit or Union has produced 100 Certified Integrity Officers CEIO across various ministries and departments.
Its Deputy Minister Datuk Dr. Juanda Jaya said Sarawak is committed to governing its administration with integrity and free of corruption.
Hasil cetusan idea yang amat berhormat Premier Sarawak juga, kerajaan negeri kini telah berjaya melahirkan seramai 90 orang pegawai integriti bertauliah atau Certified Integrity Officer, termasuk 10 orang selo sedia ada. Kesemua mereka ditempatkan di pelbagai kementerian, jabatan, pentadbiran bahagian, badan-badan berkanun serta beberapa syarikat berkepentingan kerajaan bagi memastikan integriti, ketulusan dan tadbir urus yang baik.
His speech was read by Tebedu Assemblyman Dr. Simon Sinang Bada at the inaugural Jelajah Integrity at Tebedu on Thursday. He added Sarawak is fortunate to have leaders with integrity such as the late Pehinsri Adnan Satem, who signed the Integrity Pledge. Similar move was followed by current Premier Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg 2 weeks after he took office on 25 January 2017.
Sarawak leads with the total number of children aged 5 to 11 who have received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Statistics shows a 59.1% of the state group being inoculated as of March 9, where 3,890 were administered. The state's vaccination rate is also significantly higher at 55.3% than the national level, which is at 30.4%.
The total cumulative number of children who have received the vaccine in Sarawak stands at 168,901. These data were provided by the Ministry of Health, MOH, via its COVID Now website. Other states recording high vaccination rate when compared to the national rate are Malacca with 42%, Penang 40%, Johor 37.3% and Klang Valley with 36.2%. Meanwhile, 93.7% of teenagers aged 12 to 17 in Sarawak have received the first dose, while 90.5% have completed their 2-dose vaccine regime. The vaccination rate is slightly lower than the national rate from the same age group who have received 2 doses of the vaccine, which is 91.1%.
2 friends who were reported missing on Sunday in a jungle at Jemoreng in Matu were found alive and in good health last night. The duo, identified as 30-year-old Muhammad Khail Abdullah and 15-year-old Nazif Kabil Muhaimin, were found by villagers along Jalan Jemoreng Bawang at about 7:45 p.m. Both were brought to the village chief's house and stated that they survived by eating midin as their main source of food for the past 4 days. According to the Matu District Civil Service Defence Department APM officer, Jumaat Akasas, both individuals lighted a fire pit as a signal when they realized they had lost their way in the woods. They had entered about 2 kilometers into the jungle through the Jemoreng Bawang main road heading towards Jalan Pasing Jemoreng. Both had also heard sounds of chainsaws, the azan being called, and several fireworks explosions, but failed to make their way out. The search and rescue mission has been terminated following the victim's discovery at 9:30 p.m. on Wednesday, March 9. Now, communities utilizing health services at the Sungai Asap Clinic, Bakun Resettlement in Belaga will be better served with the new addition of a new ambulance to solve the district's ambulance shortage problem, especially during medical emergency in transporting patients to the Bintulu Hospital. The 4-wheel drive ambulance vehicle donated by Sarawak Energy Berhad SEB has been customized to fit the area's topography and terrain.
CEO of SEB Power, Sarawak Energy's power generation arm, Bunya Lunyong said the corporation is pleased to support efforts and partner with Sarawak Health Department to further serve the community in Sungai Asap. The Sarawak Health Department in Kapit received the contribution as part of SEB Corporation's ongoing support to communities relocated by the Bakun Hydroelectric Plant's construction plan or HEP. The community was established in 1998 and is located 2 hours by road from Bintulu and 1 hour from the Bakun hydropower plant. The resettlement for 15 longhouses communities comprising of the Kayan, Kenya, Kajang and Penan communities who were relocated from the Balui River to make way for the development of the 2,400 megawatt Bakun HEP. At the handover ceremony held at Bakun HEP, Medical Officer for Sungai Asap Health Clinic Dr. Nur Fazira binti Abdullah received the ambulance on behalf of the Sarawak Health Department, witnessed by Dr. Hamidi bin Muhammad Sharkawi, Health Officer for Kapit Division. Sarawak Energy was represented by Bakun Maintenance Manager Lawrence Satya Uzit, Bakun Operation Manager Edmund Gabriel, together with management and staff from Bakun HEP, as well as medical staff from Sungai Asap and Kapit.
Yang bermain untuk satu matlamat. Kau tu aduh dah lah gayat. Untuk adalah PC untuk
Ready to have a strong mental attitude.
Saksikan rancangan info majalah Hobi Kamek pada setiap hari Selasa jam 7.15 malam hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My TV.
Saksikan Kayu-Kayu Weekend setiap Jumaat jam 6.30 petang hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My TV.
Kita ke ulu, sidak si tahu kita pemburu. Sidak cemburu, tanda sidak sakit say I see you. Siknya senang nak senang sis, siknya susah nak susah bro. Siknya senang nak senang sis, siknya susah nak susah bro. Kita ke ulu, sidak si tahu kita pemburu. Sidak cemburu, tanda sidak sakit say I see you. Kita ke ulu, sidak si tahu kita pemburu. Sidak cemburu, tanda sidak sakit say I see you. Hustle. Saksikan Hustle Hasil setiap Sabtu dan Ahad 12.15 tengah hari hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My Freeview.
Welcome back to TVS Nightline. Now, although the permission for husbands or next of kin to accompany pregnant women in labor at the Health Ministry's hospital has been in effect since October 2021, it is, however, subject to certain conditions and strict compliance with the stipulated Standard Operating Procedures or SOP. MOH, through a statement, stated that the policy and guidelines are dynamic, depending on the current COVID-19 situation, and their implementation in hospitals are subject to certain situations, capacities, or constraints.
This is to ensure the aspects of patient care as well as safety of patients and health workers are given priority. At the same time, the ministry advised the public to check with the nearest hospitals about the policy. Meanwhile, husband or family member who wish to accompany pregnant women in the delivery room are required to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19, namely 14 days after being administered with a second dose of the Pfizer, Sinovac or AstraZeneca vaccine, or 28 days after receiving single-dose vaccine such as CanSino and Johnson & Johnson. In addition, they also need to undergo the COVID-19 screening test within 72 hours and bring along the test result to the hospital or purchase the self-test kit and take the test at the screening area provided at the hospital.
A review of the ceiling price for the COVID-19 antigen rapid test kits in the market will be conducted by the government. Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Datuk Sri Alexander Nantalinggi said the government had gazetted the COVID-19 antigen rapid test kit or RTK as a controlled item under the Control of Supplies Order 2021 on November 24 and was enforced on December 1st to ensure adequate supply in the market.
Kerajaan sentiasa mengambil kira keperluan dan kepentingan pengguna, terutama dari aspek kecukupan bekalan di pasaran serta mendapatkan harga pelitup muka dan kit ujian kendiri pada harga yang tidak membebankan. Sehubungan itu, penguatkuasaan, pemeriksaan dan pemantauan oleh bahagian penguatkuasa KPDNSP sentiasa dilakukan ke atas item berkaitan di setiap peringkat seperti peringkat pengilang, pemborong dan peniaga.
He said this in reply to Cha Ki-chin, Rasah MP, whether the ministry would review and reduce the ceiling prices for face masks and COVID-19 self-test kits, as well as setting ceiling prices for oximeters and thermometers, which are essential items at this time, which Nanta said would be implemented if necessary. In a supplementary question on the government's efforts in controlling the quality of products like face masks and self-test kits in the market, Nanta said the ministry was evaluating the matter to ensure that the quality was of medical standard, and in regards to the COVID-19 self-test kit, the Ministry of Health will continue to work with the Medical Device Authority or MDA to ensure these devices are of quality.
Bukan harga sahaja, kita akan mewatakkan satu nak memastikan kualiti itu sedang diperhalusi sekarang. Ya, kita akan wartakan standardnya nanti. Ya, itu pelitup muka. Dengan ujian kit ujian COVID-19 yang dikatakan tadi, memang sebenarnya peralatan kesihatan dan perubatan adalah di bawah bidang kuasa MDA, Medical Device Authority, yang agensi di bawah KKM lah. Jadi KPDNSP akan terus bekerjasama dengan MDA untuk melaksanakan pemantauan secara berterusan berhubung perkara ini.
In the effort to aid the vulnerable groups and the needy, the government will revise the fuel and cooking oil subsidy mechanism. Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Abdul Aziz said the implementation of the targeted subsidies is expected to optimize the government's financial resources for effective distribution for the well-being of the people.
Pelaksanaan subsidi secara bersasar dijangka dapat mengoptimumkan sumber kewangan kerajaan dan perkhidmatan yang dicapai dapat diagihkan semula untuk program yang lebih berkesan menyumbang kepada kesejahteraan rakyat.
Since the beginning of 2021, world crude oil prices have showed a significant upward trend, with the benchmark Brent crude rising to $85 per barrel in January 2022 from $55 per barrel in January 2021. Following the increase, Tengku Zafrul said the government has to cover a significant increase in subsidies for petrol, diesel and liquefied petroleum gas LPG of up to 10 times, increasing from 200 million ringgit for January 2021 to more than 2 billion ringgit for January 2022.
Sekiranya harga minyak mentah dunia kekal melebihi $100 setong, jumlah subsidi tersebut bagi keseluruhan tahun 2022 dijangka mencecah 28 bilion ringgit berbanding 11 bilion ringgit bagi tahun 2021.
Adding further, Tengku Zafrul said consumers currently paid only 2 ringgit and 5 cent per litre for RON 95 petrol, but the actual cost in March had reached 3 ringgit and 70 cent per litre for petrol. Hence, the huge gap between retail prices at petrol stations compared to actual market prices will result in a higher risk of subsidy leakages due to smuggling of petroleum products out of the country.
Now, the drop in Malaysia's petrol retail prices could trigger petrol smuggling activities due to the significant retail price differences among its neighbouring countries. Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz noted that the RON 95 petrol retail price of RM2.05 per litre currently is very low compared to the prices of petrol sold in the region. He cited Indonesia, RM3.74 per litre, Thailand RM5.63 per litre, and Singapore RM9.16 per litre. He said if the global crude oil prices remain above $100 per barrel, the government's petrol subsidy is expected to increase to 28 billion ringgit in 2022, compared to 11 billion ringgit in 2021, but this would put pressure on the government's fiscal position, as the money for the additional subsidy could have been used for economic development purposes and ensuring the people's well-being. In addition to answering a supplementary question from Datuk Sri Salim Sharif, Parliament member of Jempol, Tengku Zafrul said the government was also studying ways that the targeted subsidy approach could be extended to other subsidized goods, and this would ensure that the government's limited resources would be focused on helping those who are in need and no subsidy leakage to those who can afford it. He said the total allocation for aid and subsidies have been raised to 31 billion ringgit under budget 2022 from 28 billion ringgit under budget 2021. However, it is expected that the subsidy expenditure in 2022 will increase due to the increase in oil product prices. The claims and arbitration proceedings by the French Arbitration Court in Paris, which ordered the Malaysian government to pay approximately 62.59 billion ringgit to the so-called descendants of the last Sultan of Sulu, is not recognized. This was because the appointment of the arbitrator, Dr. Gonzalo Stampa, had been revoked and was no longer legally valid.
Pada 29 Jun 2021, atas permohonan kerajaan Malaysia, Mahkamah Madrid telah membatalkan pelantikan Dr. Stampa sebagai penimbang tara dan kesemua tindakan dan keputusan yang dibuat oleh Dr. Stampa adalah terbatal. Mahkamah Madrid pada 13 Oktober 2021 memutuskan bahawa partial award on jurisdiction yang dikeluarkan oleh Dr. Stampa bertarikh 25 Mei 2021 adalah terbatal ataupun null and void dengan izin Tan Sri Yang di-Pertua. Walau bagaimanapun, penuntut telah membawa partial award jurisdiction tersebut ke Perancis sebelum 13 Oktober bagi memintas keputusan Mahkamah Madrid tersebut. Pada 29 September 2021, Mahkamah Perancis tanpa mengetahui keputusan Mahkamah Madrid yang telah membatalkan pelantikan keputusan Dr. Stampa telah mengeluarkan Exchequer Order
Wan Junaidi said this in response to Ahmad Hassan, Parliament member from Papar, who sought the government's clarification. Wan Junaidi said the government had taken appropriate action to challenge the decision by filing a case at the Sabah High Court, but the claimant did not attend the court proceedings. The Sabah High Court on January 14, 2020 ruled that the 1878 agreement did not contain an arbitration provision.
Malaysia tidak pernah mengenepikan kebalan kedaulatannya di timbang tara tidak mempunyai bidang kuasa untuk menyelesaikan perkara yang dibangkit. Kedua, keputusan Mahkamah Tinggi Sabah tersebut telah dibawa ke Mahkamah Madrid Spanyol untuk diiktiraf dan dikuatkuasakan bagi memberhentikan prosiding timbang tara di Spanyol. Susulan itu, partial award jurisdiction dikeluar oleh penimbang tara pada 25 Mei 2020 telah diketepikan.
However, Wan Junaidi said the claimant had before October 13, 2021, brought the partial award on jurisdiction to France to circumvent the decision of the Madrid court. At the same time, the Malaysian government had also filed an appeal to revoke the exequatur order and an application to stay its implementation. On December 16, 2021, the French Court of Appeal allowed the Malaysian government's application for the stay of the exequatur order issued on 29 September 2021, pending an appeal.
Hai, siapa kata makeup artis boleh jadi host? Kini Tok kami dah bagilah host. Jadi kepada anda mesti nak tahu rancangan apakah? Jadi kami nak nunjuk yang kita orang. Rancangan apa yang kami jadi host? Kepada anda di rumah, kami Odin Syam dalam rancangan yang terbaru di TVS. Kedai kita. Hashtag kami jual, kita beli. Love.
Hai, saya Deli Yusof. Jangan lupa saksikan saya memasak dengan Tony Yusof dalam rancangan Tony Lapak eksklusifly di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My TV.
Walaupun rentas negeri dah dibenarkan, SOP kenalah jaga. Pelitup muka. Dan buat ujian kendiri sebelum mulakan perjalanan.
Gila bang. Aku tak peduli. Aku tak peduli.
Thank you for staying with us. Now on to some global updates. Indonesia's Merapi volcano erupted overnight, sending hot lava and ash down its slopes and prompting over 250 residents in the surrounding area to evacuate.
Merapi spilled hot clouds, a mixture of ash and volcanic materials that flowed 5 kilometers down its slope between near midnight and 2 a.m. Potential dangers include more lava flows and hot clouds, and the authorities are warning people living within 7 kilometers of the volcano to keep away. Located on the Pacific Ring of Fire, Indonesia has more volcanoes than any other countries. Merapi last violently erupted in 2010, killing more than 350 people.
Now wrapping up TVS Nightline. The first person who made history of receiving a genetically modified pig's heart passed away on Tuesday at the University of Maryland Medical Center, UMMC. The hospital said that 57-year-old David Burnett was given compassionate palliative care after his condition worsened several days ago since he received his transplant on January 7.
Bennett first came to UMMC as a patient in October and was placed on a heart-lung bypass machine to keep him alive, but he was deemed ineligible for a conventional heart transplant. On December 31, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration granted an emergency authorization for the surgery in the hope of saving his life. After he was implanted with a pig heart that had been genetically modified to prevent rejection in a first-of-its-kind surgery, his son called the procedure a miracle. The hospital said on Wednesday that the transplanted heart performed very well for several weeks without any signs of rejection. The surgery was among the first to demonstrate the feasibility of a pig-to-human heart transplant.
And that concludes TVS Nightline for tonight. Once again, I'm Hari Zainuddin. It's been a pleasure.
Nak tahu saya masak apa? Jangan lupa saksikan saya Fatah Bowl di Cooking Orang Bujang setiap Selasa jam 10.15 pagi hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My Preview. Jumpa nanti.